Welcome to the world of science fiction, where imagination turns real and every story takes you beyond the stars. Enjoy the ride. The twin suns of Vera burned low across the horizon, throwing crimson light over the glass domes of the Capitol. Inside the ceremonial hall, thousands watched in silence as Ariana stood before the elders, her silver robe torn at the edge, her pulse echoing in her ears. They waited for her to kneel. She didn't. The elder's voice boomed through the hall. Ariana of the third line, do you accept the union? She looked up, her eyes steady. No. A ripple of shock moved through the crowd. Gasps, whispers, the faint hum of weaponized drones overhead. On Vera, refusal was more than rebellion. It was blasphemy. Every girl was bound by law to serve the Empire through chosen unions, alliances that strengthened bloodlines and power. But Ariana had seen too much of their cruelty, too much of their lies. The elder's hand trembled over the sanction device. Then by decree, your name is erased. You are no one. A sharp flash, searing light, and the mark on her wrist turned black. Stripped of her identity, stripped of her rights, Ariana was dragged through the corridor as guards surrounded her. Her breath came in short bursts, but she didn't scream. Not once. Outside, the storm raged, violet sand whipping through the air. A transport ship waited, engines humming low. She was pushed inside, bound and bleeding, the door sealed shut behind her. No one said where they were taking her. They didn't need to. Hours later, the ship descended into the wastelands, the barren surface of a forgotten moon. The soldiers forced her out, their armor reflecting the cold light of distant stars. You wanted freedom, one of them sneered. You can have it here. They left her with nothing. No food, no comms, no light. The ship lifted off, disappearing into the storm. The wind screamed around her as the heat from the engines faded, leaving only silence. Ariana fell to her knees. For the first time, fear crept into her chest. But beneath it, something stronger. Defiance. She looked at the stars scattered across the black sky. Somewhere beyond them, humans were said to roam. Outsiders, enemies, rumors. She whispered, if the gods won't save me, maybe they will. Far above the wasteland, a human recon vessel scanned the surface for radiation traces. Inside, Xavier adjusted his visor, bored from another routine sweep. Sector 12 clear, he muttered. Over the comm, Easton's voice crackled. Keep scanning. Command wants thermal readings from the south ridge before dark. Xavier sighed, leaning forward, and froze. Wait. I've got movement. A faint blip flickered across his display. One life form, humanoid, faint but alive. Easton, patch me to command. I'm going down. Negative. That's off-limits territory. Old Varen exile zone. You know what happens if... I'm not asking. He cut the line and angled the ship downward. The descent rattled the cabin. Dust swirled like ghosts outside as the landing thrusters screamed. The hatch opened, spilling white light into the darkness. Ariana shielded her eyes, thinking it was the end. Another punishment. But when the silhouette stepped forward, the armor wasn't Varen. The insignia on his chest was human. He crouched down, scanning her with a handheld sensor. You're injured, he said, his tone calm but wary. Who are you? She whispered. Xavier, 7th Human Recon Division. Ariana stared at him, the first human she'd ever seen. Legends called them savages, destroyers of worlds. Yet here he was, offering her water. They left me here to die, she said bitterly. He looked at her ruined wrist, the blackened mark of exile. His voice softened. Then maybe it's time someone didn't. Thunder cracked overhead. Xavier looked up, Stormfront moving in fast. He opened a small comm device. Easton, I found someone. Varen exile, female wounded. Silence, then Easton's voice returned, tense. Get back to the ship. If the locals detect your signal, you're both dead. Xavier helped Ariana to her feet. She stumbled, exhaustion dragging her down. He caught her before she fell, his arm steady around her shoulders. You're human, she murmured. Mostly, he said with a faint smirk. For the first time, she almost smiled. They reached the shuttle just as lightning struck the ridge behind them. The shockwave hit seconds later, throwing sand and heat across the planes. Inside the cabin, alarms blared. "What is that?" Ariana gasped. Xavier checked the screen. A swarm of drones rising from the dunes, glinting red in the stormlight. "Trouble," he said. He hit the thrusters. The ship lifted, shaking violently as the first plasma shot grazed the hull. Through the viewport, Ariana saw the world that had abandoned her burning in the distance. The home she once loved, turning to ash. She whispered under her breath, almost to herself, "Then let it burn." The ship vanished into the storm, carrying her toward a destiny no one had written yet. A story of survival, love. The shuttle's engine screamed through the upper haze as lightning clawed across the sky. Inside, Ariana sat buckled into the co-pilot's seat, her hands trembling over the console. Outside, the storm turned the horizon into fire. Xavier's voice cut through the chaos. "Hold on!" The nav systems fried. "I'm flying blind." A plasma bolt struck the left wing. The ship spun, alarms wailing. Ariana's heart pounded as gravity tore her sideways. Metal shrieked. For a second, she thought the world ended again. Then, silence. The ship slammed onto hard ground, skidding through ash until it stopped beside a canyon ridge. Smoke hissed from the engines. Sparks fell like dying stars inside the cockpit. Ariana exhaled shakily. "Are we alive?" "Mostly," Xavier groaned, forcing the controls into lockdown. He tore off his helmet, sweat streaking his face. "Easton, do you copy? We're down. Coordinates transmitting now." "Static. Nothing else." "Easton," he repeated. Only static answered. The comm array flickered. A red line scrolled across the screen. No signal. Ariana stared at the message, then at him. "They cut you off? Or the storm did?" He checked a monitor. External oxygen low, radiation moderate. "We can't stay out here long." She leaned closer, watching as he recalibrated the console. His movements were efficient, practiced. A soldier used to surviving when the universe turned against him. "Why help me?" she asked quietly. "You don't even know who I am." Xavier looked up. "I know you were left to die." "That's enough." Hours passed. The storm calmed into a dim orange haze. They stepped outside, boots sinking into black sand. The wreckage stretched behind them, twisted metal glowing faintly blue from impact heat. Xavier scanned the horizon with a handheld tracker. Easton's beacon should be this way. Ariana followed silent. Every few steps, her eyes drifted to the sky, to the distant world where she'd been cast away. "They'll come after me," she murmured. "Then we make sure they regret it." The words carried weight, steady and sure. For the first time since her exile, she didn't feel powerless. By nightfall, they reached the canyon floor. In the distance, faint lights blinked, an outpost half buried in rock. "That's human tech," Xavier said, relief flashing across his face. "Easton's temporary base." They approached carefully. The air smelled of ozone and metal. As they neared the entrance, the door hissed open, and Easton appeared, rifle raised. "You're late," he said dryly, lowering the weapon once he saw Xavier's face. Then his eyes caught Ariana. "That her?" "Yeah. They're in exile." Easton's jaw tightened. "Do you realize what that means?" "Command will never approve evac with her on board." Ariana stepped forward. "Then don't ask them." Easton glanced at Xavier. A silent question. "She's not a threat," Xavier said. "She's a survivor." For a moment, the air between them buzzed with unspoken conflict. Finally, Easton exhaled. "Fine, but if command tracks this, we're ghosts." Inside the outpost, dim lights flickered over steel walls and humming consoles. Xavier helped Ariana to a med station, scanning the burns on her wrist. "That mark, it's fused with biotech. I can't remove it." She winced. "It's not meant to be removed. It's meant to remind." The scanner beeped. Xavier frowned. "There's something else. Energy inside the mark. Like it's alive." Before he could finish, the console light surged. The blackened mark on Ariana's wrist flared violet, projecting a burst of holographic code into the air. Lines of alien symbols cascaded across the room. Easton stepped back. What the hell is that? Ariana's eyes widened. A distress beacon. My people's technology. It's broadcasting my location. Xavier's stomach dropped. How far can it reach? Far enough. Outside, the wind shifted. The sky pulsed faint red. Xavier rushed to the perimeter screen. Radar showed incoming signatures, fast and numerous. They found us. Easton slammed a button, sealing the hatch. We've got a minute, maybe less. Ariana looked at Xavier. Fear flickered, but determination burned brighter. You should go. They'll kill you for helping me. He shook his head. Then they'll have to go through me first. The ground trembled. Distant engines roared closer. Lights flared in the dust. Ships descending, and rebellion that would change both their worlds forever. Easton grabbed his rifle. Multiple hostiles inbound. You two cover the west tunnel. I'll take the ridge. Xavier turned to Ariana. Can you still move? She nodded, gripping the plasma pistol he handed her. Her voice steadied. Let's finish what they started. As the first explosion tore through the canyon wall, fire and light engulfed the night. 3 figures stood against an army. 2 soldiers and an exile, united by something more dangerous than rebellion. Hope. The first blast tore open the canyon ridge, scattering shards of molten rock through the air. The sound was deafening, like thunder made of fire. Xavier ducked behind a steel barrier, rifle up, shouting over the roar. Easton, status! Static hissed through the comm, then Easton's voice. I've got 2 ships down, but more inbound. They're using heat seekers. Keep Ariana under cover. Ariana crouched beside Xavier, the glow from her wrist pulsing faster with every explosion. She stared at it, terrified and mesmerized all at once. It's reacting to them, she whispered. Then let's make it work for us, Xavier said, slamming a new power cell into his rifle. Another blast hit nearby, throwing dust and heat through the tunnel. They pressed closer to the wall, breath ragged. They won't stop, she said. They'd rather erase me than let me exist free. Xavier turned to her, voice steady but fierce. Then they picked the wrong soldier to chase. Outside, Easton sprinted along the ridge, targeting drones streaking through the storm. His visor display filled with red markers. Too many. We're outnumbered, he barked. Extraction's not happening. We hold or we die here. Copy, Xavier replied, reloading. He looked at Ariana. You ready to change the odds? Ariana nodded once. The violet glow on her wrist brightened until it illuminated the dark around them. Symbols flickered in midair. Data lines, alien code, rotating streams of energy. The air itself seemed to vibrate. Easton's voice came through, awe mixed with fear. Xavier, what's she doing? Something none of us were trained for, Xavier said. The light exploded outward, linking to the canyon walls, crawling like veins across the metal of the outpost. The enemy ships above flickered, controls failing, engines sputtering midair. Ariana's voice shook. It's not me. This mark, it's part of their network. I can override them for a moment. Maybe. Do it! Xavier shouted. Above them, the enemy formation faltered. 2 ships spiraled out of control, crashing in flames across the ridge. But the effort drained her. Ariana staggered, the glow dimming. Xavier caught her before she fell. Hey, stay with me. I can't. Hold it long, she murmured, her skin pale. He tightened his grip, eyes locked on hers. You don't have to win the whole war tonight. Just survive it. Then came Easton's shout. More incoming, north flank. Xavier moved fast, pulling Ariana behind a fallen beam. He peeked out, saw 6 armored troopers advancing through the smoke. Plasma rifles lit the haze blue. He raised his weapon. Stay down. The firefight ignited the canyon again. Bolts of light cut through the dark, reflecting off broken steel. Easton joined from above, precise and ruthless. One by one, the troopers fell, until silence returned, but the radar still blinked red. Not done yet, Easton said over comm. They're calling reinforcements. Big ones. A low rumble rolled beneath the ground. Ariana's pulse raced. They're bringing orbital fire. Xavier's jaw clenched. Then we end it before they can lock. He looked at her wrist again, still faintly glowing. Can that beacon send something back? Ariana frowned. You mean reverse the signal? Exactly. Make them target their own ships. Her eyes widened. That could destroy the whole fleet. Then let's hope they're listening. She knelt, placing her hand on the metal floor. Energy rippled outward like a heartbeat. Lines of alien code surged upward, forming a sphere of light around them. The air hummed, rising, louder, higher. Easton's voice cracked through the comm. Guys, I'm reading a massive power spike. What are you? Before he could finish, the sky above turned white. Ariana screamed as the energy burst from her mark, shooting into the clouds like a spear. Lightning ripped the heavens open. One by one, the enemy warships flared, then vanished in streaks of light, consumed by their own fire. The ground shook. The world went silent. When the light faded, the canyon was quiet. Only smoke, dust, and the echo of thunder. Ariana collapsed, barely conscious. Xavier caught her again, holding her close as debris rained around them. It's over, he whispered. She tried to smile. For now. Easton's voice returned, static-filled but alive. You two still breathing down there? Barely, Xavier replied. Good. Because Command just picked up your signal, and they're not happy. Xavier looked down at Ariana, unconscious but still alive. He exhaled slowly, the distant sun breaking through the dust above them. Let them come, he said quietly. They'll find more than they bargained for. The morning light on Vera's wasteland was pale and strange, like sunlight that had forgotten how to be warm. Smoke still rose from the crater where Ariana's power had torn the enemy fleet apart. The air hummed faintly with leftover static. Xavier knelt beside her in the dust. Her breathing was shallow but steady. The mark on her wrist had dimmed to a faint pulse, violet fading into gray. He brushed the dirt from her face, whispering, You did it. You actually did it. Over the comm, Easton's voice cut through. Command ships inbound. ETA 4 minutes. They've got full orbital surveillance. Whatever happened down there lit up every sensor we've got. Xavier looked up at the sky. 3 human dropships streaked through the clouds, trails of blue flame behind them. His stomach tightened. They're coming to extract us? Not exactly, Easton replied grimly. They think she's a threat. Minutes later, engines thundered overhead. The dropships landed hard, kicking up clouds of ash. Soldiers poured out, weapons raised, armor glinting silver in the rising light. At the front stood Easton, helmet off, jaw set, flanked by command officers. Xavier lifted his rifle halfway, defensive. Easy, Easton said, hand raised. They want her contained, not killed. She's unconscious, Xavier snapped. She saved all of us. A female officer stepped forward, eyes cold. That thing on her arm just annihilated half of Veran fleet. You think Command's going to ignore that? Xavier clenched his jaw, anger simmering beneath control. She's not a weapon. She's a person. That's above your clearance, Sergeant, the officer said flatly. Step aside. For a second, nobody moved. The hum of gun barrels filled the silence. Easton's eyes darted between them, calculating. Finally, Xavier lowered his weapon but didn't step back. You take her, and you start another war. The officer's expression didn't change. You don't get to decide that. Inside the ship, Ariana stirred. Light filtered through the cracked viewport, brushing her face. She blinked slowly, vision blurred, ears ringing from distant shouting outside. She pushed herself up, weak, dizzy, but heard the tension in Xavier's voice through the comm. Don't touch her! A sudden spike of fear surged through her chest. She reached for the console, fingers brushing over the controls. Her wrist mark pulsed faintly, responding to her panic. Outside, the soldiers froze as the ground began to tremble. The same faint violet light spread across the dirt beneath their boots. Easton shouted, Xavier, she's waking. Whatever link she triggered before, it's restarting. Xavier turned, sprinting back into the wrecked shuttle. Ariana was half standing, disoriented, the light around her growing. He caught her shoulders gently. Hey, look at me. You're safe. No one's hurting you. She blinked up at him, voice trembling. They're here for me, aren't they? He didn't answer. He didn't have to. The silence told her everything. Her eyes hardened. If they take me, they'll weaponize this. Use it to destroy whoever they want. Then we don't let them, he said. Easton's voice crackled again, urgent. Commands ordering immediate surrender. They're threatening to detain you both if you resist. Xavier looked down at Ariana, sweat and ash streaking her face, determination burning through exhaustion. He made his choice. Tell them no. Outside, the soldiers tensed as the shuttle's engines roared to life. Dust and light exploded outward. The lead officer barked an order. Disable that craft! Gunfire erupted. Plasma bolts streaked through the air, slamming into the hull. The ship lurched upward, shields flaring weakly. Xavier gritted his teeth, forcing the controls. Easton, you with us? A pause. Then Easton's voice. Always. The side guns from his ridge station lit up, covering their escape. The dropships broke formation as debris rained from the sky. Ariana steadied herself beside Xavier, gripping the edge of the console. They'll chase us forever now, she said quietly. He glanced at her, a half smile ghosting his face. Then we better make it worth the run. High above the clouds, Easton's ship linked up behind them, systems flickering from battle damage. You just turned both our armies into enemies, Easton said over the channel. Wouldn't be the first time, Xavier replied. So what's the plan? Xavier looked at Ariana, who stared out at the endless stars, the mark on her wrist faintly alive again. Find where this thing came from, she said softly, and end it before anyone else tries to use it. Easton exhaled. That's suicide. Xavier smirked. That's war. Below them, the wasteland vanished beneath storm clouds. Above, the darkness of space opened, quiet, endless, and waiting. 3 fugitives now, bound by something more powerful than any order, the truth they still didn't understand. Space stretched endless around them, black glass freckled with dying stars. The stolen ship drifted in silence, engines running low to avoid detection. Inside, the only sound was the hum of life support and the faint pulse glowing from Ariana's wrist. She sat against the viewport, knees pulled up, eyes hollow from exhaustion. Each flicker of the mark seemed to sync with her heartbeat, or maybe something beyond it. Xavier approached quietly, setting a ration pack beside her. You haven't eaten in 16 hours. It keeps getting louder, she whispered, not looking up. What does? The signal, it's not just light, it's, calling something. He frowned, glancing at the mark. It pulsed again, slow, deliberate, like a code. Easton's voice echoed from the cockpit. We've got company. 2 blips, low radar cross-section. Varen scouts, most likely tracking residual energy from the mark. Xavier's jaw tightened. Can we jam them? For maybe 10 minutes if I reroute shields, but after that, they'll know exactly where we are. Do it, Xavier said. The ship's lights dimmed as Easton reworked power. Ariana closed her eyes, forcing herself to breathe, but the pulse inside her skin responded to the interference. Almost fighting it, the violet glow flared, bright and sharp. Xavier, she murmured. It doesn't want to hide. 10 minutes later, the first enemy ship dropped out of warp, a sleek black Varen interceptor, its hull marked with gold runes. Energy readings spiked. Easton, they found us. 2 minutes to range. Xavier, we can't outrun them. Not like this. He turned to Ariana. Can you control it? She hesitated. The light on her wrist throbbed faster, almost frantic. It's not power, it's a message. I think it wants to go somewhere. Where? She looked at the stars. I don't know, but it feels close. The first shot hit. The ship jolted violently, alarms flaring red. Sparks rained from the ceiling. Easton cursed. They're targeting engines. Shields dropping fast. Ariana's eyes snapped open. The light on her wrist expanded, stretching across her veins, across her chest like molten circuits. They won't stop. They'll kill all of us to get this back. Then we fight, Xavier growled. He grabbed his rifle, but Ariana's voice cut through. Low, urgent. No, let me show you something. She pressed her hand to the glass. The pulse spread outward, light shimmering through the hull like veins of liquid metal. Outside, the approaching Veyron ship froze mid-charge. Its engines flickered, then died. Every system aboard it powered down. Easton. What the hell did you just do? Ariana. I didn't attack, I answered. A deep vibration rippled through the air, a frequency that wasn't sound but feeling. The stars outside began to distort, rippling like water. From that distortion, something vast began to emerge. A structure of light, bigger than any fleet, suspended in the void. A voice, calm, mechanical, ancient, filled the ship. Coordinate link confirmed. Artifact return in progress. Xavier looked at Ariana. What artifact? The mark on her wrist blazed brighter. Me? The ship's systems locked up. Navigation, weapons, even oxygen control froze. Easton slammed the console. We're being pulled into that thing, whatever it is. Xavier grabbed Ariana's shoulders. Can you stop it? She shook her head, terrified. It's not mine to stop. The light consumed them, silent and total. When it faded, the three found themselves floating in zero gravity within a colossal sphere of glass and gold circuitry. Stars shimmered through the transparent walls. Thousands of crystalline pods hung suspended around them, each holding a humanoid figure, glowing faintly violet. Easton's voice broke the silence. Are those people? Ariana turned slowly, eyes wide. No, they're memories. Suddenly, the same ancient voice echoed again, louder now, all around them. Designation, AR-7N. Function, Sentinel interface. Reactivation successful. Xavier stepped closer to her. It's talking to you. Ariana's expression faltered, half awe, half horror. No, it's naming me, AR-7N, Ariana. That's what I was before the war, before they erased us. Easton swallowed. You're saying you're one of them? She looked down at her glowing wrist. I think I was the last one. Xavier stared at her, the woman he'd fought for, bled for, now standing in the heart of something older than humanity itself. Then what happens now? He whispered. Her eyes lifted toward the endless ceiling of stars. Now, it remembers why it was made. And as the light around her grew blinding, the pods began to awaken, one by one. The wrecked ship drifted through the edge of a dying starfield. A bruised silence filled the cabin, broken only by the hiss of static from a damaged comm line. Easton sat at the console, scanning frequencies. They've tagged us as fugitives. Every outpost, every patrol. Command wants you both alive. He paused, eyes grim. And if they can't have you alive, they'll take you dead. Ariana stood by the viewport, the faint gold glow still pulsing beneath her skin. They're scared, she murmured. Not of me, of what I might remind them of. Xavier leaned against the bulkhead, armor half burned, exhaustion carved into his face. You showed them something they can't control. That's what terrifies them. The ship's proximity alarm screamed. Incoming warp signatures. Easton's screen filled with blips. Command fleet, 5 ships, full strike formation. We can't outrun them this time. Then we don't run. Ariana's voice was calm, resolute. She turned to Xavier. This ends here, before anyone else dies because of what I am. Xavier stepped closer. You're not a weapon, Ariana. You're proof something greater can exist. She smiled faintly. Maybe. But they'll never believe that while I'm still breathing. He grabbed her arm, firm. Then we make them see it. Outside, the command fleet appeared. Colossal warships surrounding the small vessel like wolves circling prey. A message flashed across the comm. Unidentified ship. Power down immediately. Surrender the Sentinel asset or face destruction. Easton's hands hovered over the controls. They'll blow us apart if we answer wrong. Ariana stepped forward. Open the channel. Her face appeared on every command display, glowing faintly gold, her tone steady but mournful. You called me an asset, a weapon, but what I carry was meant to preserve you. She glanced toward Xavier. And maybe that's still possible. The lead officer's voice came sharp through the comm. Stand down, AR-7N. Your containment is mandatory. Ariana looked at Xavier, whispered softly, "If this works, you'll know." She closed her eyes. The light beneath her skin began to rise, brighter, deeper until it filled the cabin with a soft hum that vibrated through the metal. Outside, every ship's sensors went haywire. Power grids flickered. A wave of gold expanded from Ariana's body, radiating out like sunlight through water. Easton shouted, "Ariana, stop! The core's overloading. If you keep going..." But she didn't answer. Her voice echoed inside their minds instead. "It's not destruction. It's restoration." Images flickered across every command screen. Memories of the archive she destroyed. Lost civilizations. Forgotten wars. Faces of people long gone. The soldiers froze, staring at visions of worlds they never knew existed. Ariana's power reached beyond metal and data. It reached memory itself. The command ships began to lower their weapons, one by one. But then, a single vessel broke formation. A panicked captain screamed through the comm, "She's rewriting our systems! Fire now!" A beam of light cut through the void, aimed directly at Ariana's ship. Xavier lunged, throwing himself over her as the blast tore through the hull. The shock wave flung them into darkness. Silence. Then faint breathing. Xavier opened his eyes amid the wreckage, floating through debris. Sparks danced around him in weightless air. Ariana hovered nearby, motionless, her light dim. "Ariana?" No response. He pulled her close, heart hammering. "Come on, stay with me." Her eyes fluttered open, faint gold flickering one last time. "It worked," she whispered weakly. They stopped fighting. He looked outside, Baston saw it. The command fleet drifting silently, weapons cold. The stars glowed calm again. Easton's voice came over the half-dead radio, strained but alive. "They're retreating, Xavier." Whatever she did, it reached them. Ariana smiled faintly. "Then it's enough." Her hand fell against his chest, the glow fading. For a heartbeat, the stars themselves seemed to dim. "No, no, stay with me," he begged. She looked at him, eyes soft. "You gave me something they couldn't erase." "What?" "A reason to care." And with that, the light went out. The wreck floated in silence. Hours later, command rescue teams approached. Not as hunters, but mourners. Xavier stood on the scorched hull, watching her body drift toward the distant light of a new dawn star. Easton's ship pulled alongside. "What now?" he asked quietly. Xavier looked at the golden glow spreading slowly through the nebula. Ariana's energy scattering into the cosmos. Now she becomes what she was meant to be, the memory of everything worth saving. As they turned away, a faint pulse shimmered across the stars. One final heartbeat of light. And somewhere, deep in the void, a whisper echoed, "It's not the end. It's awakening." The galaxy burned quietly. Wreckage drifted like dead stars through the void, the remains of a war that should have never begun. Inside a fractured ship caught between debris fields, Ariana, Xavier, and Easton clung to silence. The hum of failing engines, the only sound left between them. A soft alarm blinked red. Easton's voice broke the quiet. "They found us again. Command fleet, 5 cruisers, heavy class, and they're armed." Xavier didn't look up from the cracked viewport. "Of course they are. They always come back." He turned, eyes tired but steady. "How long till they reach us?" 3 minutes. Ariana stood near the viewport, her silhouette framed against starlight. The faint gold glow beneath her skin pulsed like a heartbeat. "They'll demand surrender." "Easton. And if we don't?" She glanced at him, calm, almost peaceful. "Then they'll do what they were built to do. Destroy what they don't understand." Xavier stepped closer. "And what are you going to do?" She met his eyes. "End it, one way or another." The comm system crackled, flooding the cabin with static. A voice cut through, sharp, commanding. "Unregistered vessel. This is Command Alpha. Power down immediately and surrender the Sentinel unit." Ariana turned to Easton. "Patch me through." He hesitated. "They'll trace the signal." "I want them to." Her image appeared across every command ship's display. A woman glowing faintly gold, standing against a storm of stars. Her tone was quiet but powerful. I am not your enemy. You built me to preserve life, not to control it. But you chose fear. You chose war. The commander's voice came cold. Your existence destabilizes human sovereignty. Your destruction is necessary. Ariana's voice softened, almost mournful. Then humanity has learned nothing at all. Xavier moved beside her, lowering his weapon. There's another way. She shook her head. Not anymore. The moment they fired on the archive, they decided this ending. He caught her wrist gently. You can't erase yourself just to save them. Her eyes flickered gold. I'm not erasing anything. I'm giving them what they lost. Memory. Easton's sensors flashed red. They're charging main cannons. 20 seconds. Ariana looked to the stars, whispered, Then let them see. The first blast hit. A blinding wave of plasma. The ship lurched violently. Consoles shattered. Sparks rained. Xavier stumbled forward, catching Ariana as the room shook. But instead of collapsing, light burst from her skin. Brighter, wider, flowing outward like a tidal wave. Easton shielded his face. What's happening? Ariana's voice echoed. Layered, distant, divine. The Sentinel Network remembers. Her light expanded beyond the hull, washing over Command's fleet. One by one, their weapons powered down. The soldiers aboard those ships saw flashes through their own eyes. Ancient worlds, lost children, burning skies, peace before war. A voice whispered through every comm simultaneously. Hers. You were meant to protect each other, not destroy what you don't understand. For a moment, silence held the universe. Then panic broke it. One captain, desperate and afraid, screamed through the channel. She's rewriting the neural grid! Fire everything! A single ship broke formation and launched its beam. It struck the wrecked vessel dead on, white light engulfing everything. The blast threw Xavier across the cabin. When the smoke cleared, the ship was torn open to vacuum. He gasped through his mask, drifting weightless. And there she was, Ariana, floating near the breach, her light fading fast. He reached her, pulling her close, holding her in the middle of the silence. Her eyes flickered open. Xavier, stay with me, please. She smiled weakly. It worked. What worked? Her gaze shifted toward the distant command ships. Now silent, engines dim, weapons offline. They stopped fighting. Easton's faint voice came through comm static. They've disengaged, Xavier. All of them. Whatever she did, she reached them. Ariana's breath trembled. Good. Then I can finally rest. No, he whispered, shaking his head, holding her closer. You don't get to rest. Not yet. You changed everything. You saved us all. Her voice grew softer. Then promise me one thing. Anything. Remember me. Not as what I was, but what I tried to be. Her hand brushed his cheek. Something human. And then her glow faded completely. The ship drifted silently. No alarms, no war, just quiet. Xavier stared at her lifeless body. Golden dust rising from her skin, scattering into the air like fragments of light. Easton's ship docked minutes later, hull scorched and battered. He found Xavier standing near the breach, watching Ariana's glow drift toward the nearest star. Easton's voice cracked. What now? Xavier didn't look away. Now? We start over. And this time, we earn what she gave us.